Hi everyone, Ms. Gomez here, and I'm excited to share with you the directions on how to create a seamless step and repeat pattern that I have here. If you notice, the pattern can be repeated endlessly and fill a page or a canvas in Photoshop. The images that I chose to use for this tutorial are hand-drawn or digitally drawn images that I created in Procreate on my iPad. You also can create any type of hand-drawn or painted or creation from paper and scan it and upload that onto your computer. You just need to convert them into PNG files that have a transparent background. Now, in order to get to this point, before we can fill a page with a pattern like this, we need to create a section of the pattern, which is called a unit of repeat design. So in order to do that, we are going to be rearranging our images so that they fill the square. And we're going to be offsetting some of the images off to the side so that way when this square is repeated over and over, it matches like a puzzle. To get started, you're going to need to open a new file, and that first file is going to be a small square, and it will be 800 by 800 pixels, 300 resolution, and RGB color 8-bit. Okay, once that layer is created, you're going to need to import or add your drawings or images into the canvas. And once you download that and save that onto your computer, you can drag and drop it in. And once that happens, you'll notice that the practice images are on their own layer. And we're going to want to turn off the background layer because we want to continue to work with a transparent background image. That way later on we can customize the color of the background and we're not stuck with white. So we want to be able to move these images around. In order to do that, we have to release them from the layer that it's on or make a copy of them. So what we're going to do is use the lasso tool to select around the images. I'm going to start simple and only choose 3. We'll start with the painting graphics. So I'll start with the paintbrush. I'll draw around with the lasso tool. Once I let it go, it completes the shape and gives us those dancing ants there. Then I'm going to hit Control C and then Control V. So it's copy and paste. And what you'll notice is it duplicated the paintbrush and it created its own layer. I want to do the same thing to 2 other images, the paint tube and the paint palette. So I'm going to go back to highlighting my practice images layer because that's where we're copying from. Make sure I'm on my lasso tool and go around. If you mess up, you can always click out of it and restart or hit Control D to deselect. Okay, so we're doing Control C, Control V. If you are on a Mac, you will be using Command instead of Control. Be sure to select your practice images layer for the next image. Control C, Control V. So I have my first 3 images selected. I'm going to turn off my practice images layer and focus on moving these 3 around. So I'm going to use my move tool to move them to the center. Now the goal at first here is to rearrange these in how you like, but not have them touch the edges. That's super, super important. Okay, so I want to transform these or move them around a little bit more. So I'm going to do Command T, rotate, enlarge, get it to be where I want on my space. Hit enter when you're done. Command T for the next one. Rotate it and place it where I like. Enter. The last one. I'll make the paintbrush look like it is taking some paint from the palette. So that looks pretty good to me. Now we're ready to offset this part of the image. This is going to be the part of the image where it splits it in half and disperses it around the edges to create that puzzle effect. In order to do that, we need to select all the layers and merge them first. So we're going to hit Control and click the remaining layers for all three images, and then let go of Control and then right click over our layers that are selected and click Merge Layers. Then we're going to go to Filter, Other, Offset, and then we're going to offset it by half the amount of the space. So since our original size was 800 by 800 pixels, we're going to split that in half to 400 by 400. Make sure it wraparound is clicked, and then preview's on so we could see what it'll do, and that looks good. And then we're going to hit OK. So we're not done yet. We need to fill the empty space here with the remaining images from our practice images file or layer here. So in order to do that, I'm going to just turn off my offset layer and then turn back on my practice images and make sure I click that and highlight that, or else I won't be copying and pasting from there. So we're going to go back to the lasso tool and we're going to make a copy of the remaining images. So that includes my camera, Control C, Control V, click practice images again. Oops, star, Control C, Control V, click practice image layer again and do the pencil. Control C, Control V. Okay, I have my last three images copied and pasted onto their own layers. I'm going to turn off the practice images layer. We don't need it anymore. And then turn back on the offset layer so I could see where these land amongst what I have so far. So I'm going to move the pencil, the camera, and the star. Just be careful where you're clicking because you could accidentally move the offset layer and we don't want to move that. Okay, so I'm going to transform these and change the size of them so that they fill the space better. Another thing you can do, let's say if you want one extra star to put in here, you can choose the lasso to select those individual stars, Control C, Control V, and then use your move tool and transform to move and rotate it. So I'm pretty happy with the way the center is filled now. And we're going to now define a pattern. So we're going to save this design in Photoshop to be able to use it to fill another file, another layer on another, you'll see. So we're going to do define pattern, and we're going to name it art supply pattern. Click OK. All right, so now we're going to open a new file that is much bigger, because the bigger the newer file is, the more times our little pattern that we created can be repeated. So I chose to format mine as 2400 pixels by 3200 pixels, and the other settings are the same as the previous file. Okay, so before we fill this with our pattern, we're going to click the create new layer on the layers toolbar here and make sure that's selected, and then we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Edit, Fill, yes, Pattern, and then we're going to choose the newest one, which is at the end here. Hit OK, and it will fill your layer with those images. Next, you're going to want to try, if you'd like, if you don't want the white, you can try and fill the background with another color using the paint bucket. So select the color of your choice and then fill the background. So you're pretty much done at this point, but you need to remember to save your work. So don't forget to go to File, Save As, rename your file to match your, to describe what it is that you created. Art Supply Pattern Teal. Since this time I made a teal colored one. And it saves as a Photoshop file, so I can go back and edit it again if I'd like. Now, if I want to save this as an image to be able to put it into a document like a slideshow or Google Docs, you could do export as, and then choose the file format that you like, PNG, JPEG, or GIF. JPEG works, and it will save with the same name except end with the ending JPG, and save, and you tell it where to save, and then you'll have it to use in another place. You might also want to go back and save your unit of repeat in case you wanted to go back and tweak it and edit it and change it up. So thank you for watching. I hope this was easy for you to follow, and have fun.